Right, first book review, and it's going to be John Fante. So I don't have the copy, so I can't hold it up and flash it around like one of those awesome book reviewers that always have the fucking copy of the book. But so you read these things online. So John Fante, yeah, Ask the Dusk. Now the reason I read this was because I read all of Charles Bukowski's books, and I thought they were fantastic. I tried to find what inspired Bukowski. I read Henry Miller, Tropic of Cancer, which maybe I'll do another book review about that. But conclusion, it was shit. But I read Bukowski's on writing. And he lists John Fante as basically the author that he was inspired by the most. And so that's what led me to this book. So I made a few notes before I started reading it. And I thought that like Bukowski, there would be a masculine main character, like a strong male lead, but also have that cynical side of it, where you can see that dark side of life. Because that cynical side, I really like that cynicism, which is in Catcher in the Rye, and it's in Bukowski, and it's also in, let me get to that. So that's what I expected. I actually made a note here, just part of my psychology, that I wanted a character to be able to see the dark side of life. I wanted a character to show that people were crazy, people were weak, and in general poor at living. I wanted this character to show that other people were afraid and scared, and that in itself caused, and quote unquote is what I wrote, immeasurable amount of loneliness and made you feel psychotic. Take from that what you will. I also thought the novel would be simply written, because if you look at Bukowski's work, there's no pompous language. It is what it is. It's simple. It's a great story. I thought that what I was looking for specifically when I read John Fante was a plot, because in my writing at the moment I'm trying to learn how to plot things better. And a lot of Bukowski's work, you could say there's not a lot of plot. I read Mark Haddon, and I recommend that, A Spot of Bother. Fantastic plot. He plotted it really well. And the other one that he wrote, Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, fantastic, really well plotted. But you read something like Bukowski and you go, is there a plot here? And if you read Henry Miller, a lot of people said the plot's really thin. So I wanted something that was like Bukowski but with a better plot, and I think that's what I got in general. I made some notes as I was reading what I was impressed by. The first thing is the lead character, he's actually 20. He's very experienced. You look at Bukowski and he wrote Women and you go, wow, this guy's fucked a lot of bitches. But you look at John Fante and you go, oh, right, he's actually an inexperienced lead character, 20 years old, and he's not doing well with the women. So that's... but I really enjoyed that character. That character was extremely well written, very enjoyable. There's something that says a character doesn't have to be likable, just interesting. And that's what I think. As I was reading it, I didn't really like the lead character. In fact, he's a bit of an asshole. It goes through some of the things in the book and you go, why is this guy doing this? He does some really stupid, shitty things to the girl, and I won't spoil it. So I personally didn't like the character, but I did think the character was really interesting. What I wanted to say about the cynicism in this book, it is very cynical. There is a lot of dark side to it. The character is unhappy. I watched another review recently, and it said that the down on your luck characters. The character's down on his luck, but it makes it relatable. It makes it you can relate to it. It mirrors yourself. You see elements of yourself in that, and you go, yeah, life isn't always fair. Sometimes you go through shit, and sometimes you meet a girl and you fall fucking helplessly in love, but she doesn't like you back. Shit happens. So that's reality. So I really love this raw grittiness in a book where it just shows you the harsh reality of life, because that's something that some people don't necessarily talk about that. I don't like to complain, I like to be positive, but then to have somebody say, look, here's the fucking reality, that there's a lot of pain and suffering here. And I love it when someone can put, it's not necessarily that stereotypical pain of, oh, I hate my job, or, it's those little things that you don't necessarily even pick up on, that are there. It's just a general feeling, or that description of anger or bitterness or something going wrong, and when it's portrayed, it's great. Like, there was a line in this book which was something about the girl bit his lip, and in the morning then he had that, like, a swollen lip. So these are little things that writers can pick up on which are true. Like the pain of a bitten lip. It's something so subtle, but it's so nice that he put that in the book, and then I, as a reader, can go, oh, yeah, and actually relate to that. And I like these words as well. I use these negative words, miserable, sadness, but these are... Ages ago I would have read a book and I would have been like, oh, this isn't optimistic, we should be positive about life. But maybe as I'm getting older, I'm 29, I can see that I like a balance. It's good to say that some things are good, but you cannot avoid the sadness. It's really great to also just see the sadness, write about the sadness, not try and avoid the sadness, and just admit that it is there. And also you can relate to people through that sadness, which is a really good thing. It makes you feel way less alone. If you're going through some hard times in your life, you go, well, yeah, somebody else felt this too. So that's, in general, really, really cool. So I wrote a lot, and a lot of it was what I wrote about for myself and my own writing. I did want to talk about, somebody else made a review here and they said about the earthquake in the middle of the book, so spoiler alert, but there is. The way that the plot goes, let's talk about that, because it's not necessarily your stereotypical plot. This is this rising action which goes like this, and then there's this black moment, and then everything comes back and everything is happy and it works out all right. And that plot line it gets dull, and I particularly do not want to write like that. I would like a more interesting kind of thing, rather than just going, event A leads to event B, and then, there's this rising action, and then all of the events at the end come together, and then there's this big dark moment where it all goes wrong, and then somehow the character, like a phoenix in the flames, builds himself up again. Ooh, how many times we heard that story. But After Dusk is not like that. I found it more of a snake-like plot. It kind of weaved, and it was great because I didn't really know where it was going next. And there was one point where I wondered to myself as I read it, will we ever see this Camilla again? Like the first third of the book is about this Camilla, and then there's this space where we don't hear about Camilla, and you wonder if John Fante is even going to kind of come back around, or she's just gone from the book and we'll move on. And I kind of felt like, well, either way I would be still really interested in this book, because it's really interesting, the character's interesting, he's written it really well, so that the writer's going to take you on a journey, and wherever it goes, it's going to be a good read. So I wondered at one point, maybe he's going to just leave the whole Camilla thing and go on to something new. And it will be a totally different book than what I expected it to be. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but you wouldn't get that in a lot of books. You would know that when you start, these two main characters, you're going to see through to the end, and it's going to be this rise in action thing. And actually, John Fante didn't do that. It weaved, and that took me. It took me on a different journey because of it weaved through, and then we had this earthquake. It was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So the whole thing was just like, how can I say, different snakes. It was like that one's going here, it was there, and then that one's going over here, and then it weaves over there, and it weaves, and then finally it comes to an end. Which the ending again, you don't. I didn't expect the ending, and see, I would compare it because I recently read Mark Haddon, that Spot of Bother, and the ending was so climatic. It was like a movie. It was just leading up to this big marriage where everything went wrong at the marriage, and I expected that the whole way through the book. And even though I enjoyed the book, I did expect, it's going to be a climatic ending, blah 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 blah, and that's exactly what I got. But with After Dusk, I didn't get that. I couldn't figure out the ending. I had no idea how it was, and when it got to it, it wasn't this big climax. It was just something that was real about life, something that you could actually see happening and see the main character doing. So I wasn't taken into this fictional world where it was like a movie. I was taken into this fictional world which was like telling me about the rawness of life and the negative things about life and the cynicism about life. And I see that's why Bukowski loved it, and I could see a lot of Bukowski in this work. So I'm going to leave it there because I think that's enough to say, and I don't think I'll be able to hold your attention for 12 minutes. So see you later.